Happy weekend, lovely viewers. You're welcome to your wonderful program, Nigeria Today. We're happy you're there watching Living TV, where we bring the world first to you. Today, as usual, we're going to look at the trending issues. Today, fortunately enough, you're going to have our regular guest because of our unfinished matter last time they were here. And then, as usual, from my far left, I have Barrister Chukwuemeka Nwago. Barrister Chukwuemeka Nwago is a practicing lawyer and also a security consultant. Barrister, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and good day, viewers.
After him, I have Dr. Stanley Ndwago. Dr. Stanley Ndwago is a teacher. He's also a media person and also public affairs analyst. Dr. Ndwago, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, distinguished moderator, and to you, our viewers, welcome to this edition.
All right, today, just like the name applies, while many Nigerians, senior lawyers, the main opposition party, People's Democratic Party, they hold opinion that the 1.4 billion naira vehicles for Niger Republic by the Buhari-led federal government administration is lawless, reckless, insensitive, and abuse of power, considering the insecurity in Nigeria, ASU strike, hunger ravaging 80% of Nigerians. So having said that, Babajide Koko's son disagreed with all this. He said that if Nigeria can receive aid from the US, what is wrong in Mr. President, giving aid to neighboring countries like Niger Republic? Council, Babajide Koko's son is a lawyer, and that is his opinion. I know we talked about this last time. And then if there is only one person who can support Mr. President for doing this, what is your take?
Remember what view I had expressed, that ordinarily there is nothing wrong with Nigeria giving aid to another country. But you do not go to give aid to people who seem to be better than you, or people who don't have need of that aid. You made mention of the US giving aid to Nigeria. Yes, of course. Nigeria is not, at least in terms of security and the economy, Nigeria is not better than US. US is better. And so US can always give us. But in terms of security, the Niger Republic does not have this level of insecurity that we are witnessing today in Nigeria. So Nigeria is not better than Niger, and so Nigeria, along that line, or for that reason, is not in a position to give aid to Niger. Secondly, it is coming at a time when Nigeria herself needs a lot of aid, a lot of assistance. I did hold the view, I still hold on to it, that considering the length of time our lecturers and our children have been at home, if that 1.4 billion naira is given to us today, believe you me, ASU would immediately consider calling off the strike or suspending it while still negotiating for the balance as well as other reasons for why they went on strike. But if that 1.4 billion used to buy only 10 vehicles, said to have been used to buy only 10 vehicles, had been given to ASU, ASU would immediately suspend the strike action, continue their demand, but at least they will go back to school. The learned SAN, with due respect to him, is a Nigerian, like you and I. He is entitled to his opinion. You cannot crucify him for holding such opinion. However, with all due respect to him, it would seem that such opinion was given by somebody who is not on ground. The person who does not buy from Ungwa Road Market where I buy, or from Omongase Market where some of my friends buy, or from Ezugu Market where some of my relations buy, or Ariaga where also some kids and kin of mine buy from. Because if he had been buying from the average market in Nigeria, I wonder why he would have gone to hold such a view. We can give aid, but the aid has to be given at a time that we can give it, at a time that the other country needs it more than we need it, at a time that we are in a position, not when our economy is ailing. With Nigeria, some people have held the opinion that it is already a failed state as at today. Today is the 6th, I believe,
yes,
of August 2022. All the features of a failed state are here. The economy is zero. How can you be exchanging $1 to... I understand there was a little improvement. It's moved from 710 to 700, and we are celebrating. And we are celebrating and throwing our knives up. And no, that's not right. That's not right.
Okay, Doc, a lot of Nigerians are lamenting seriously about this. And this senior advocate of this country had to say this. And one of the things, he has said here is abuse of power. Do you agree to that? The Mr. President's action.
Let me start by reiterating the fact that giving aid to a neighboring country is not a bad idea. Let me also repeat the fact that Nigeria has always been known for doing that for sister African countries. Let me also repeat the fact that there is no time that is wrong to give aid to anybody. So if Nigerian government led by Muhammadu Buhari has in their own wisdom said that we should give aid, and they have done that, there is nothing wrong with that. The learned Silk also is entitled to his own opinion, just as the learned friend here, okay, the learned man, not a learned friend, not a lawyer yet, the learned man, those of us teachers were educated, they are learned.
You are highly educated, but certainly not learned.
Not learned. So, there is nothing wrong in giving the aid. There is nothing wrong in assisting a sister African country. There is nothing wrong in Nigeria. We have our problems though, insecurity, the economy is at zero, our lecturers on strike. My good brother here says that with 1.4 billion naira, that our lecturers, we can suspend the strike.
While still negotiating for the balance and order.
Which I doubt if, going by what As is saying, I doubt if even with 2 billion naira they will want to go back.
Try them
because As is asking for 1.2 trillion naira.
Give them what billion.
So what I am saying in effect is that yes, we can give aid to them for a good reasons. Remember that the last time I said that it could have been to strengthen diplomatic ties with that particular country. It could have been to improve security, even though the security consultant here says that such vehicles aren't for security purposes, that they are luxury vehicles. Maybe given to placate some people, maybe, we don't know. But whatever reasons the government has must be justifiable. And the area I am concerned is the illegality of what was done. Some lawyers are saying that the National Assembly should have approved that particular largest amount of money before it was dispensed, that the president does not possess that power to unilaterally give out Nigerian money in aid to any country without the approval of the National Assembly. I am not a lawyer, I don't know much about that, but as a layman, there is nothing wrong in giving that aid. That is my own opinion.
All right, Council, considering what Dr. Ndago just said, we have the National Assembly, and they have their constitutional rights of being there. This money that was given out, was it not supposed to go through the National Assembly?
Exactly. You have what you call a budget. And when you spend, a budget, of course, is an estimation of your income and expenditure backed by the approval. There is a law, an appropriation law, made by the National Assembly and signed or assented to by the approving authority. If it is at the federal level, Mr. President himself, state level, the governor, and it becomes the budget. Every other person is supposed to work in line with it. Extra budgetary expenditure is an impeachable offense because it is a breach of the law. There is a law that is made to back the budget and bring the force of the state, the authority of the state behind it. When you take from subhead A and put into subhead B, it is not embezzlement. It is what you call misappropriation. That one is that you intend well, but once it is done without the necessary approval and authority, it becomes a problem. It has gone contrary to the law. Take a look at something that happened in the Bible. The gentleman, Uzzah, the Ark of the Covenant was sliding down, was almost going to fall and crash. He meant well, but he was not a Levite. He put forth his hand and waged it. He succeeded in doing good, but he lacked the authority so to touch that. And the Lord, according to the Bible, slew him on the spot because he wasn't a Levite. So, for the little stint we had in government, if you go to bring, as important as personnel cost is concerned, that salary, as important as it is, if you go to deep hand in, let's say, capital project fund, to fund personnel, fund salary, without approval, it is misappropriation. And the officer who has done it will attract the sanction, necessary sanction. So, for you to do that, let's look at that of Mr. President. If there was a need at all, I don't know the exact details of the budget, how much, if at all, had been provided for aid. What he ought to do is to dip hand into such fund or budget, assuming there is, and do it. If there is none, he should have gone for what you call virement. That virement is like additional authority to incur additional expenditure outside what the budget had originally provided. So where that had been the case, and Mr. President felt the need, he should have laid it before the National Assembly and said, gentlemen, look at why we are doing this. And then it's also at that stage that I am sure the National Assembly, maybe not the present one which appears highly emasculated and unable to check the excesses of the executive, would have said, but 1.4 billion, if you are saying 1.4 to buy how many vehicles and you say 10, they say, at 140 million per vehicle, that is scandalous. It's very scandalous, especially for an administration that claims to be fighting corruption. It's scandalous. That was the basis on which this administration, Nigerians voted. They said, look, let's get this man to fight corruption. And today it's not fighting corruption. Rather, it's being enthroned. It's sad.
All right,
unfortunately.
Wait, you take it together. Now you agree and also accept the fact that there is nothing wrong in giving it. But what about the timing, considering the economic situation of the nation?
I repeat, there is nothing wrong in giving the aids, but there are gray areas the Neden man has raised. One, the cost, and of course, the issue of having recourse to the approval of the National Assembly. Unfortunately, I have not heard any senator or any House of Reps member raise his voice in condemnation of this, though they are not in session at the moment. But I believe that they must have
talk from the
good. They must have heard what is happening, and I've not heard the spokesman of the Senate or the spokesman of the House of Reps or any member of the two chambers raise any voice, any eyebrow against this. So what it simply means is that for now, there is nothing wrong in what the president has done until the appropriate people say something is wrong. The National Assembly appropriates, also approves every appropriation. So for them to have not said anything up to this moment, it is assumed that the Mr. President did not err or did not go contrary to any laid down rules until the senators and House of Reps members come out to say that. But if the Mr. President did it extra budgetarily, it is impeachable and he should be punished for it.
Okay, Council, based on what Dr. Ndago said now, must every Nigerian who has conscience wait or all the approvals of the House of National Assembly, will they be assumed as correct? Because he's saying until the National Assembly, comes out to say this thing is wrong, we cannot assume it's wrong. Is it proper?
No, what I'm saying is that if the expenditure was made without recourse to the National Assembly, if there was no budgetary approval for that, and he did it, that is why he's wrong. So for now, we assume that there was. And they are the appropriate people to say there wasn't. I am basing it on assumption, based on the fact that nothing has been said by any member of the National Assembly at this point.
Council, what is your take on that?
Well, any legislature is a college. Their actions, utterances, and activities are collegiate, meaning that they act in concert, they act together. There is a place where we have given to them a forum to act in concert, so that you cannot say Senator XYZ said so, Mr. Honorable XY said so. It is the National Assembly, comprising of two chambers, the red chamber, the green chamber, the red being the Senate, the elder, and the green being, will I say, the younger, the Federal House, that's the House of Reps. So, it is known to everybody that they are on recess. I had said earlier on that the present National Assembly has left Nigerians in very serious doubt as to their ability to check the excesses of the executive. In fact, many of us believe that they are emasculated, they are unable to do anything. That having been said, by the time they come back from their recess and resume sitting, I would want to believe that this issue will certainly come up. Anything any of them says today would amount to the same thing as we are doing on this program. The person would be saying as an individual, with his personal right to the freedom of his expression, okay? It is when they get together and they raise it, because even the approval is also given collectively and together. It is not something done by one of them, not even by the President of the Senate, and certainly not by the Speaker of the House of Reps. It is done collectively by the National Assembly. So when the National Assembly reconvenes and they fail to raise it, but I'm sure it will definitely come up, because somebody would. Two areas I would want them to take a look at, or I expect that they will take a look at, would be the area of having no authority, that's the environment, even though that could be quickly arranged. A bill could come up and say, well, you people were on vacation there, and depending on whosoever is at the helm of affairs can say, yeah, the request for the approval was transmitted while we were on vacation. There was nothing I could do. So now that we are back, you could give a retroactive approval But I expect that the issue of the cost, I repeat, as a Nigerian, 140 million per 140 million per vehicle is scandalous. It is scandalous. There's nothing you can say to justify it. More so by an administration which says we are fighting you.
Okay. All right. The Minister of State for Labor and Employment, Festus Keyamo San, has called on Nigerian parents and those who are directly affected by the shutdown of academic activities in Nigeria. That's academic activities in Nigeria that are owned, the universities owned by the government, to appeal to the Academic Staff Union of Universities, that is ASU, to go back to their classes. And the federal government, according to him, cannot borrow 1.2 trillion naira for this, considering that the whole earning of the country is about 6.2 trillion naira. So there is no how the government will want to borrow because of this ASU. With this kind of statement, do you think that the ASU strike will be called off anytime soon, Dr. Ndago?
When I read Festus Keyamo's speech on this on the social media, I dismissed it as one of those things people post on the social media until I read it in one of the newspapers. That is ridiculous for somebody to say that parents should go and beg ASU to return to classes. Then what is the job of the government? This was an agreement reached. Yes, I agreed that this agreement was reached before this administration came on board. It was reached, I think, 2009 or 2010 agreement, reached with the former president, Goodluck Jonathan. And I do not have the clear statistics of the contents of the agreement. But all I know is that there was an agreement that the federal government of Nigeria has failed to implement. Festus Keyamo said that we cannot go borrowing to fund our universities, to make our children get back to school, but they have been borrowing to do other things. That we run on 6.2 trillion naira, and we cannot use 1.2 billion naira to go and carry out, I wouldn't know how to put it, to go and fix our education sector. Yes, he has every reason to say that because perhaps his children are not affected. He has every reason to say that perhaps his children are all schooling overseas. My own child is at home, giving me troubles at home. By next month, he should have gone into third year. I am fighting to manage him at home, so I'm worried. His own children are not at home, they are not troubling him. So that is ridiculous. We must all condemn this abuse of the tongue, because he has abused his tongue. For somebody in his position who should objectively tell the federal government of Nigeria he's serving what to do to make sure that our children return to classes, to come back and tell parents to go and beg us. I should go to Professor Sadeke to kneel down and beg him to please call off the strike. I should go to Abia State University to call the lecturers together and beg them to get back to classes. That is funny and shameful that a sitting minister will make that comment. He should mind his tongue.
Okay, Council, you heard it. Out of let's assume the total earning of the country is about 6.2, and the minister is saying they cannot borrow 1.2 trillion to ensure that our children get back to school. How do you look at that?
How much has this administration borrowed to service frivolities? How much has this administration borrowed to service or install infrastructure in Niger Republic? Figures do not lie. How much was squandered by this administration under the guise of trader money? How many people got it and how much were we told? We borrowed to fund that. How much was borrowed to make us believe that while the nation was on lockdown, the Minister for Finance went about herself, according to her, that is her testimony, it's on record and in the public domain, went about Nigeria distributing money to families during lockdown, when everybody was on lockdown. And when the National Assembly asked for the records of the people that got it, they said it was in a particular office. They said, okay, bring it on Monday. By Sunday, that office got burnt. So, I don't... Doc had said something about the minister having to mind his talk. The minister is my senior learned colleague. He seems to have forgotten that he attended a Nigerian university. If I had the opportunity of discussing with him, I would have asked him whether when he went to school, he spent half of the time he was supposed to be in school at home, at the end of which a certificate will be given to him. You see, when people burn bridges after crossing the bridges, it's very unfortunate. It's sad. We don't know where his own children are schooling. But if they are schooling in Nigeria, I'm not sure all of them that they will be behaving like this. Let them bring out the figures. When you go into negotiations like this, you will bring your enemy and then bring both the capital flow as well as the expenditure, and show how this is what we get, this is what we are using for this, and this is why your request cannot fly. In the absence of that, this administration has been demonstrating through various ways and means that it can spend anything on anything. It can spend any amount on anything it wants to spend. The only thing is if it makes up its mind to spend it on it. Government is a continuum. That agreement was not entered into between Goodluck Jonathan and ASU. That point has to be made. It was not an agreement between Jonathan and ASU. It was an agreement between the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and ASU. The present administration cannot expect to take only the assets and leave the liabilities. In my profession, we say benefits and burdens run together. You want the siren and convoy that would escort the president, everybody will clear from the road and you will pass. You want that one, but you don't want the responsibility and headache that goes with it. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. Let them go and give ASU what they want. Let them get our children back to school. If you want to finish a nation completely, render their children and their youth uneducated. The way we are going, we have an army of half-literates on our hands, and they are the most unruly to manage. What is happening in the north with their Amajiris has shown us what can happen. They are there for easy conversion to anything. We shouldn't allow our children to continue. You talked about yourself. How many of them are at home with me? And the way they eat, the way these young people eat, they eat with a lot of strength and muscle. You prepare one bowl, big basin of eba, and in 2 seconds the thing is finished.
You begin to look for it.
Yes, and when you look at them, they still appear the way they
just a meal.
Just one meal. Just one meal. You are supposed to give them 3 times. If you don't, they now begin to go into criminality to find something, the stomach infrastructure, and you shouldn't allow that. So for us parents, when they are in school, engage in academics, it has a way of also occupying their attention, and somehow it's limited. Whatever money you give them, somehow they know that they are there for an assignment for a specific program, and they pursue it. So it takes their mind off things. But when they are at home, doing nothing except watching Nollywood, and they are busy with their phones, the way they eat, I don't know if they eat in your own homes like that. The way they eat in my own, they eat with muscle.
You leave small petrol in the generator and go to work. Before you come back from work,
they would have used to charge their phone and put on the decoder and watch Living TV and every other program.
Okay, Doc, with what has happened and with that statement from the minister, do you think ABSU is likely to come back to their classes anytime soon?
ASU is not prepared to shift grounds. I've had to engage Professor Osadeke, the ASU National President, in one of my radio shows, and he talked tough. What it implies is that they are not prepared to shift grounds, and the federal government is worsening the issue. That is like pouring fuel into flames. This kind of statement emanating from the Minister of State for Labor is unfortunate. So ASU does not seem to return to classes soon. They have insisted that their demands must be met, and I think they are not prepared to shift grounds. And it is unfortunate that these poor, innocent children will remain at home until further notice, and it is worrisome. I am worried about it.
Okay, Council, do you think this is just an individual statement? Or don't you think you had consulted either Mr. President and maybe this is the mind of the federal government as a sitting minister?
That is the problem we have with the present chief executive.
The chief driver.
Yes, our chief driver. Yes, and his body language. A man who talks with his ear, with his nose, with the hand or elbow, like I said before, he will do like this, and
Garuba Shehu will not.
Yes, we are expecting Garuba Shehu will now the president
will interpret.
Will tell us what the president meant by doing his elbow like this, and when the elbow comes forward this way, the presidency of Garuba Shehu, Lai Mohammed, and Femi Adesina will now tell us, even though it is the elbow, it is still raised. But when the elbow goes sideways, it means this. And when it comes forward, it means this. If it now goes back, it means. So, the disposition of the present administration, virtually every person who has had anything to say, has shown that this administration is not ready to shift ground. They do not, it seems they don't recognize that agreement reached between the government and ASU. They want to see it as an agreement between Jonathan and ASU. That is where they are getting it wrong. Today, they are on the driver's seat. So, whatever they are seeing there, that is government. It doesn't even matter if it was made, after all, independence was gotten how many years ago, and everybody is taking the benefit of it. They cannot take assets and leave liability. Let them address the issue, go and meet ASU, give ASU what they need, and let our children go back to school. I'm not interested in all these rhetorics. It's really becoming very irritating and unbecoming of a nation like Nigeria. For God's sake, how come we cannot get our children back to school? And we are spending billions to buy only 10 vehicles for a neighboring district. Drop it into that palaver with us. I am sure as the people, members of the public will even now become emboldened to do what Keyamo is telling us to do, to go and beg as people. If that had been the case, some of us will now shift our flags onto us and say, yes, something has been given. Go back and, like I said, continue fighting for the remainder. But to give them nothing at all and say, call up the strike, that is, let me be modest, that is nonsensical. To give them nothing and say they should call off the strike. That's most unreasonable. It's the most unreasonable expectation.
All right. Doc, before now, I think some of us were born at the time when Nigerian budget was in millions, from millions to billions, and now to trillion. Has it changed the common man's life in this country? And where has all this money been going to?
Well, let us also consider the population of the country when our budget was in millions and it ran into billions. Nigeria is growing both in population in other areas. But in answer to your question, our budget is now running into trillions of naira, and we do not see the positive effects on the citizens. We don't see it on infrastructure, we don't see it on security. This is because a chunk of Nigerian money goes into private pockets. Here in Nigeria, we are told that one civil servant stole 80 billion naira. I am not a mathematician, but if you divide that money and you begin to consume 1 million naira every day out of it, you won't finish that money in 200 years. And a particular person has pocketed it. So our problem is that nothing has happened. Our money isn't being used for the purposes they are meant. They go into private pockets. Council said that one of the factors that brought this government into power is their promise to fight corruption. I was very, very young in 1983 when Buhari overthrew the government of Shehu Shagari and became the head of state. And one of the things he did was to fight corruption. My grandfather then, a teacher, would always praise Buhari to the high heavens, how disciplined he was, how he has zero tolerance for corruption, and that endeared Buhari to me. That was why in 2014, when he was campaigning, I was among those who said, look, if given the opportunity, this man is going to replicate what he did in the 80s. He's going to fight corruption. Unfortunately, Nigeria has become more corrupt than it was before 2015. So the problem of Nigeria is that our money goes, part of our money, or a substantial part, goes into private pockets and nothing happens. That is the problem we are facing in the country.
Okay, Council, still that same question. You are aware, and I know maybe during your school days, when it was billions of naira and so on.
No, I bet it at millions.
Good. Millions to billions, now to trillions. How has it affected the common Nigerian?
Well, Doc has also laid a foundation which cannot be overlooked. The population then and the population now. Then the military then seemed to be more sincere in their dealings because they didn't need to get votes, go for election and so on. They only needed to ensure that they held tightly to their rifles. They didn't need to go into vote buying and everything. So at that point in time, the military didn't go out as our chief driver did recently in the not too distant past, to invite ragtags from all over the world to come to Nigeria and make a home and not provide for them. Maybe because I'm from Omoala and I have found myself in a particular place as chief executive, I now invite people from there to come to another place and occupy it, and without checking the consequences as to what would happen. Naturally, you are altering a status quo overnight, drastically, no provision made. There would be consequences. Naturally, there would be consequences. And the consequences would be that when these people come, they are coming in large number at the same time, trying to take over a place meant for some people, that the people have always held as their own. There is no parcel of land in Nigeria that is not owned. It is not, there is no parcel of land anywhere in the world that is not owned. So for them to take it over, it means dispossessing the people of their land. And you don't expect the people to keep quiet. And what do you have? Conflagration, insecurity. And in the process, the economy is shattered. Places that used to be farmlands where people were farming quietly and producing food. The farmers are displaced, no more farming there, but they have to eat. And so you have to get the food from somewhere. You continue spending. The little remaining, you use it to dash anybody you see and continue pretending to be big brother. Any person that is passing says, I'm a big brother, do you need this? Even when the person looks at you, hasn't said yes or you can come and take vehicle, and you tell us anything you like. So it will continue this way, except the right things are done. I've said it over and over on this program that we cannot be doing things in the same way and manner, expecting to get different results.
All right, shortly before we go on break, let us quickly look at this. Muhammadu Sanusi Lamido, the former Emir of Kano and former CBN governor, said there is no change under the Buhari-led federal government administration, that Nigeria was better under the administration of Goodluck Jonathan. Doc.
I disagree with him. If he says there is no change, he is not being sincere enough. So what the question is, what kind of change? Positive or negative? So there is change. That is an established fact. What the campaign mantra of the Buhari's campaign team then was change. So there are changes. Nigeria has taken a lot of steps backwards.
That's the change.
Nigeria was better under Jonathan. How much was a bag of rice prior to 2015? How much was a tin of milk? How much was a packet of sugar? How much was a bag of beans? How many people were displaced under Jonathan? What was the rate of inflation under Jonathan? So Nigeria has become worse than it was during Jonathan, under an administration that came with highest goodwill ever. Of course, we have seen changes he promised us. When he was saying a change, he never told us the kind of change we were going to see. But now we know better. Thank you very much.
Well, it's unfortunate that the comment is coming from Lamido Sanusi, who himself was one of those that fought as CBN governor, undermined the Jonathan administration, fought against that administration, and assisted in various ways to ensure that this regime today came into power. There's an irony. The irony is that he who rides a tiger ends up in the tiger's stomach. That is a Chinese proverb. Lamido Sanusi rode the tiger. Unfortunately, he was consumed by that same tiger. Because when he now started seeing things not going the way he had expected, he became vocal. And at a point, they had to remind him that, Oga, now we are you being followed, they do this thing, no be so. He continued trying to remain consistent, and see the way he was removed with ignominy, and he was embarrassed out of his own state. He had to be forcefully taken on exile. Till today, he's on exile. He has been one of the casualties. Let me not just say victims. One of the top casualties of this administration. But in fairness to him, the comment he made is the truth that we are in a worse and much more precarious situation today than we were several years ago. In terms of everything, there's no way we have fared better. I am not aware, to the best of my knowledge, is it economy, is it security, is it education? This same, yes, we had the fault lines of religion and ethnicity. They've always existed in Nigeria, but we've somehow managed to manage them. But this administration came in with their 97% and 5% stance on issues and further divided us along those fault lines. Today, it's either you're from up there or down south here. It's either you're Muslim or you're Christian. It's most sad.
All right, our wonderful viewers, I'm sure you are still there enjoying the program of Living TV. And we are going to go on a very short break, and we will soon be back. Don't just go away. Remain there, and we'll be glad to see us when we come back. Wonderful viewers, welcome back to your darling station, The Living TV, and we are still on that our wonderful program, Nigeria Today, and with your favorite discussant, Barrister Chukwemeka Wong, not just a practicing lawyer but also a security consultant, and Dr. Stanley Nduago, a teacher, an academic, and also a public affairs analyst. Yeah, Bayelsa State Governor, Senator Daoyediri has condemned the National Water Resources Bill before the National Assembly, describing it as draconian. Council.
Yes. I think this is a topic that we had broached sometime on this program. And I did remind us that the exclusive legislative list which inures in favor of the federal government has too many items loaded in it. There has been this consensus, even by the previous confab under Jonathan, that the thing is too loaded, it's unwieldy and needed to be unbundled. And we were in the process of trying to unbundle it through a constitutional review. And here you are, trying to now add to the burden, to the load, when we have said that what is there is too much. Remove some, and you're adding. So, yes, they've tried to get land through Ruga. Everything was done to acquire land through Ruga, which would have, of course, conflicted with the provisions of the Land Use Act, being itself an integral part of the Constitution. When that move failed and people saw through it for whatever it was, the people saw the real intendments behind it and resisted it frontally. They are now coming through water, and water is the source of life. Water is life. So you now want the federal government to own water, every water. Imagine what would happen when this type of administration that we have in Nigeria today is controlling all the water in Nigeria. We have the water that the federal government controls under international law. 200 nautical miles from the lowest water mark out into the open sea, where you call the economic zone of the marine, will I say water, that's the sea water of any nation. That is for the federal government to control. In Abia State, this my water side here, Yiyaza Aba River here, that belongs to Omonna, you now want to control it from Abuja. Before we fish here, you would take it over and everything. I will get permission before I go to collect fish or eat. That is what they are looking for. By the time that bill, God forbid, sails through, it will then mean that no state government can have a say over its own waterways, because they are talking about water, just generally water. That cannot happen. Let them, the federal government has its own water. The states have their own water. Let the states hold on to their own water. Let the federal government hold on to its own. Nobody can tell me anything to the contrary. It is another gimmick, another way, another trick to gain control and emasculate both the states and the local governments. Concentrate further power in the federal government that we are saying, look, unbundle, police, unbundle, this one, unbundle. You can't even generate electricity in Nigeria without approval of the federal government. And when you do, by law, you are required to now transmit it to the national grid. They will now determine how and where you use it. And we are going to give them all the water. I'm not in support of that.
All right. Doc, last time we discussed the governors forum came together. They never condemned this bill, but what they said that they should be part of the bill. Now, compare it with what Governor Daoyediri is saying.
Well, the barrister here has told us some legal implications of allowing the government to take over all the water bodies in Nigeria. It means that Neme in my backyard now we belong to the federal government. My mother can no longer get there and get scrap, which she often gets once in a while without permission, license from Abuja. So I wonder why the governors seem to support that particular idea. They may have their reasons, but one of them, Daoyediri of Bayelsa State, has come out to condemn it and describe it as draconian. I think there would be public hearings. I don't know how they do it for the input of the public to be made. I would personally make my input in condemnation of that particular bill. Our legislators, our senators are the people who are still going to pass this bill for the president to assent to. And we have sent them to go and represent us and not to go there and deprive of what rightfully belongs to us. Therefore, I personally see that bill as being draconian and it should not be allowed to fly. Let all of us raise our voices and condemn that and ensure that it doesn't work, because it is not going to be in our favor as a people.
You can't even drill borehole again.
Oh, to that extent?
It's water. It's water. You don't seem to understand. You cannot, if it is water, it is water. You cannot drill borehole again. Like you said, your grandmother can no longer go to hunt crab, because they cannot say any person that hunts crab here in the river without approval, without a written license from Abuja. We will do this, we will do that to you. The fishermen here at the waterside can no longer fish, and so on and so forth. That is when Nigerians will now know exactly what we've done to ourselves.
All right,
may that day never come.
Yeah, why you are saying that, Council? With the governor's stand, assuming the federal government goes ahead to pass this bill into law, and then adding the governors, what will be the effect? Because what the governors were demanding is that they should be included, they should be part of the bill. Because it will exclusively, it will belong to, the water bill will just belong to the federal government. But they're only asking to be involved, not even asking for this bill to be prescribed?
Well, if they do it like the Land Use Act and vest the waters and waterways in a state on the respective state governments, I think that also takes care of the federal nature of Nigeria, whereby the state will now decide what to do with the water within its own territory. For example, you want to drill borehole today, especially if it's for commercial purposes, there are little approvals that you get here and there. That is okay. You want to quarry sand in the rivers. Quarrying of sand is quarryable material. It belongs to the Ministry of Solid Minerals. But the water from where you get it belongs to the state government, and so you also pay something for them. That could be managed. But the situation where you are not, but come to think of it, is the water issue the problem today with Nigeria? When we have other things we are worried about, security. You've not provided security for us, and you're worrying about waiting concern federal government with water in the states. One may ask in our local balance, now waiting concern them with water for my backyard. I mean, that we have. How will that get us back to school and our children back to school? Is it the water in my backyard, or the crab that Doc's mom catches from the dam?
From the men.
So from there you have your own in the men. Here in Aba, this water you call waterside. Yeah, we the owners, we call it Iyaza. Okay. How will that affect the quality of the Iyaza? How will it affect what is happening in Abuja? Let them leave frivolities. They are just trying, it's a distraction. They are trying to distract us. And more so for the governors, it's like many of them are more vocal when they get back to the comfort zone of their states. When they are called for a meeting in Abuja, because they are there, you don't know whether if you express certain views they don't like, they would hold you there and say you're not going. So some of them will keep quiet.
Until they get home.
By the time they now get home, I say, my brethren, my hand no there. I wasn't among just don't mind them. I didn't support the distance. And you know, while in Abuja, the governor maybe didn't say that. By the time he got home, maybe again his kinsmen would have approached him and said, "What did you go there to say?" I said, "No. I didn't say anything, no. I was just looking at them. I knew that you people don't like it." And then quickly go on there and say his mind. Okay. All right. I'm not saying this won't happen. I said maybe, because that's the way
it is likely that it happens.
Okay, yeah. Doc, looking at this, the state governors are asking to be involved, not to remove the bill on its entirety. And now, if they are involved, that means the federal government will still have a say and a part to play in these local rivers and waters.
Asking to be allowed to get involved, meaning, first of all, having supported the federal government to take over, just allow us to be part of it.
Yes.
So it simply means that they will be answerable to the federal government over issues that they should have had total control of. So I would not know why they couldn't condemn it. Like council here has painted a good picture that this particular Doediri must have been part of the meeting in Abuja. He had no courage to speak up there, only to get to Bayelsa State and start spitting fire. He lost his voice in Abuja and regained it in Bayelsa State for reasons I do not know. The governors should realize that they are elected by the people to protect their interests. The interests of the people of Abia State, for instance, should be paramount to the governor than trying to be in alliance with Abuja.
Okay, Gani Abayomi Adams has accused the federal government of frustrating efforts by the Odua People's Congress, OPC, to dislodge the terrorists in all the western, southwestern states. Is it possible? Council.
It wouldn't be the first time such accusation is coming up. And it wouldn't be the first time in the southwest that it is coming up. It wouldn't be the first time it's coming up in any part of Nigeria. If you look at what happened in the case of Benue State, when Benue complained, the response of the federal government, sadly but strangely, was go and give them what they want, give them land so that your life will be spared. If we had that at the back of our mind, and then you come to the governor of, I think it's Ondo State, who once ordered all the headsmen and Fulanis in the bushes to get out of their bushes and come out to the cities and towns and villages where they would be seen. Say, look, this is our state. By our culture, people don't live in the bush. You cannot live in the bush in our state. If you want to live in the bush in your state, we have no quarrel with that. Go to your state and live. What did the federal government do? Each time the governors say things like this, the federal government, the presidents, and we have by presidents we have defined who we mean. Lai Mohammed is their chief priest, followed by Femi Adesina and Garuba Shehu. Three of them constitute the presidents. Each time they will now tackle whichever state government that says something like that, they will be the ones to respond. So what Adams is saying is not new. It is something that has been borne out by precedent, things that had happened in several other places. Even in Abia, recently, in Umunochi area, even the state government equally had to adopt a similar stand and say, look, gentlemen, if you are to be in our state, come out where we will see you. We need to know who you are. You can't just be in our place. Any little thing you run into the bush, that is not the way we live in a place like this. We need to know who you are. Come out, we will see you, we will know your activities. We have nothing against people rearing cows, especially like along the express road. You know what they do, the median, they keep on rearing and going. Nobody disturbs them in Abia State. Nobody. They do it freely. But to go into people's farmlands, somebody will plant two corn with obor and window, and then these cows will be eating those things. And you say they are bushes. They are not bushes, they are people's farmlands.
Okay, Doc, just like Council mentioned in Abia State here, what is the supposed remedy? Or do we assume that the federal government is taking sides with these terrorists?
Well, I don't want to call them terrorists for now so that my intentions will not be misinterpreted. But going by what we see happening across the nation, it wouldn't be too wrong if I said that something is emboldening them, and that is from the federal waters. You come to a place, you occupy the place forcefully, and not just occupy the place forcefully, you try to terrorize the owners of the place. Council mentioned Umunochi. For some time now, Abia was once a very peaceful state. But since the coming of these people who occupied Lopanta, we know what has been happening. The governor that gave out that particular place to them may have meant well, that is Ojus Okaro. But today I'm sure he must be regretting the fact that he took that particular action. So Gani Adams is somebody who is on ground there. The Are Onakakamfo as the chief defender of something. He knows what is happening in the southwest. He knows the efforts they must have made, and he knows the frustrations they must have got from certain waters at the high level. Therefore, I would believe that the federal government is not being sincere enough to fight insecurity, and that they are shielding some people, giving them more boldness to terrorize other people in the country. And the commander-in-chief himself also happens to be their brother, so to speak. And that is what is giving them that boldness to terrorize other parts of the country. And they should be called to order. In Abia State here, if you must be in Abia State to do your business, let us know who you are, just as Council said. Let there be a kind of, I wouldn't know what I call it, census. Let there be record of those people, where they stay, what they do, how they make their livelihood. That will enable the states to know how to tackle insecurity. Anything outside that will become prey in their hands.
Okay, Council will be in a position also to take this. Is it proper for any person, especially when we talk about business, coming to do business in another state, from a different state, without the knowledge of the state and permission of the state, either through the security or either the House of Assembly or even the governor himself? Is it proper?
You have to get our terminologies right and x-ray the matter in context. Now, when people are on transit regarding business, you don't need to get any approval. In Nigeria, by our laws, you have the right to freedom of movement. However, if there is any rule or regulation in a state for the peace and good governance of that state, requiring residents of that state to comply with certain records keeping, then if you are putting yourself in that class or category, you should comply. There's nothing wrong with it. For example, the government can say, landlords in Aba, we want a record of your tenants. I live at Azikiwe Road, from number 1 to number 210 or so. They number it. Who is the landlord of number 1? Let us know your tenants. Don't tell us how much they are paying. We are not interested in that. But let us know the people there. Because at the end of the day, some of these premises are used for committing crimes. So that when we are processing, we know what to do. Yes. Government can also say, butchers in Aba, table butchers or the main butchers, we want to have a list of your members through the Ministry of Commerce. And then they have associations. The Ministry of, one of them is under Commerce, the other one, the butchers, they are under Ministry of Agric. And then they can now say, okay, for the big butchers, okay, get us the list of your members, and they'll submit those to government. For the table butchers, let us also have through your relevant ministry, and they get to know all those. There is nothing wrong with it. But to say that somebody who is coming to buy and go, that he must get an approval. No, that's not what the law has said.
Yeah, no, you do not require the permission of a state to just come and do business. No,
you don't.
But when the security of a place feels threatened, the government can say, we want to know who you are and what you do. I think that is what some of these.
Or if you're going to be resident.
If
you're going to be resident, the government of the states can insist. And actually, they ought to insist that we must have record of all the people resident in our state, especially in the cities.
Okay. The United Nations Human Rights Council's working group on arbitrary detention has reportedly asked the federal government or the Nigerian government to release Nnamdi Kanu unconditionally, not just unconditionally, and also compensate him for abuse and torture. Doc.
Let's look at it from two angles.
Okay.
Nnamdi Kanu has his rights. If his rights are violated, there are agencies and bodies that can come out and say, look, something wrong has been meted out of this particular person. We demand that the right things are done. Let us also not forget the fact that Nigeria is a sovereign nation that has its own rights and powers. The body that gave this is a rights group under United Nations. I do not know whether constitutionally they have the right to compel Nigeria to do that. They've issued out that directive, whether directive or order, I do not know, or if it's advice, I do not know. But the truth of the matter is that the federal government of Nigeria ought to know the right thing to do to ensure that there is peace in the country. One of the reasons why the Southeast has become volatile to some extent is the continued detention of Nnamdi Kanu. And people believe that if this young man is released, there could be relative peace in the Southeast. And that could be what this particularized group has seen and issued out, whether an order or a directive. I appeal to the federal government on a personal note to see what they can do to ensure that peace returns to the Southeast. If it is revisiting the Nnamdi Kanu's issue, they should please do that. This is a very delicate issue that certain aspects of it should not be discussed on the national television. So that's why I'm being very careful with my choice of words.
Okay, Counsel, you're a lawyer, and I think let us look at it from the legal aspect, just like he pointed out. Do they have such right?
Nigeria is a signatory to several conventions and treaties, charters under international law. And being such signatory it makes Nigeria bound also by the activities of such bodies whose membership she enjoys. If it is under the auspices of the United Nations and Nigeria is a member of the United Nations, it becomes imperative for Nigeria to respect that decision. Because as a member, it is binding. It's like we are an association. Let's take maybe Cameramen's Association of Nigeria. Maybe it exists or it doesn't exist, I don't know. And you are a member. And they have said that, look, anytime one of our members whose wife puts to bed, we will do so and so. And then suddenly, a member's wife puts to bed, they send a committee to go and collect, they form an ad hoc committee to go and collect something from you. And then that committee has also, or maybe the members resolved that those who fail to pay that levy, that we will set up a committee, and the committee, when they come to his house, they will collect his camera and hold it until he pays. And you were part of that association. You were in that meeting, the decision was taken. So his wife puts to bed and he wants the money. Then you are also a member. You refuse to pay, and they send me to your house. I'll come and carry your camera.
Or send me to your house.
No. I'll come to your house and collect your camera. For the fact that you are a subscribing member of that association, you have not resiled from it, and you were part of that decision, you are bound by it. I would also want to believe that for such a body, I don't know the details, but like I said, it's belief. Even if there is need to disagree with their finding or recommendation, that there would be a provision whereby those who disagree with the decision or activity of that body can now request or appeal for a review. If there is, then Nigeria may wish to explore that option legally. If not, then they should, to use the words of Doc, let them do the right thing.
Okay, before we go, the governors in a meeting with Mr. President advised Mr. President via federal government to retire all federal civil servants who are older than 50 years. And also, not just retiring them, they are equally advised that those who earn within 30,000 naira and above should always they should always pay a particular levy. Is it
Who said this?
The governors.
Which governors?
The governors in Nigeria in a meeting advised Mr. President.
Doc, are you aware of this?
I have just seen it. I don't have the details.
I'm not,
This is just like what was happening in the UK in those days when the country had a problem, the country needed money, and then the Prime Minister thought of how to raise money, and then he came up with the idea that people would pay taxes according to how many windows in their houses, and people began to seal off their windows, thereby depriving them of daylight, and they came up with this adage of daylight robbery. This is daylight robbery.
The governor said that they are asking him to do this to prevent imminent economic collapse.
Let us start from the governors. Let us start from those in office. Every governor who is above 50 years should leave office.
And every governor whose income is more than 30,000 naira should pay heavy return.
Let us start from Mr. President. If he buys the idea, this is one area that I will support Mr. President to ignore the request made by the governors. Indeed, every person holding office in Nigeria, whether elective, appointive, or you are an employee, once you clock 50, you are out. So let us start from Mr. President. Mr. President should, upon agreeing with the governors, resign. And the governors who made that suggestion, if at all, because I don't want to believe that this is true, but if at all that is what they have said, then each governor who has supported that, who made that request, should start by resigning to show us that they mean well, that it's a demonstration of good faith. Let them start by resigning. Members of the National Assembly, every person who supports that should resign. I am not sure that the age of retirement from the public service is constitutional. I doubt it. I think it's in the public service rules. That's where I think it is, which is 60 years or 35, whichever is first. So if they now want to amend it, it is not something the governors can say by word of mouth.
It was an advice.
It is a law. There is a regulation. And the way to do it is by amending that regulation.
It is inconceivable that governors could come up with
I doubt if the governors say so.
Which of the governors would say so? Governors collect hundreds of millions of naira as security votes.
I doubt it.
Their heads are so rich and they've not said anything about it. Well, I support him. Let all governors who are 50 years and above retire voluntarily without any compensation.
Today,
not even next week, so that we can
demonstrate good faith.
So we can start from there.
All right, my wonderful viewers, we thank you for being there. We thank you for watching. Remember, like we've always said, the opinions here are owned by those who opined them. It has nothing to do with the Living TV opinion. They are responsible for what they have said because they are adults and they are also professionals. And this is Nigeria, where we all belong. And with this, we are coming to the end of today's program. From my far left, I have Barrister Chukwuemeka Nwagu. Barrister Chukwuemeka Nwagu is a legal practitioner and also a security consultant. Barrister, thank you for being part of this program.
Thank you. I still own and hold the views I expressed here. They are mine.
And Dr. Stanley Ndwago, a teacher and a public affairs analyst. Dr. Stanley Ndwago, thank you for being part of this program.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. And I want to repeat that whatever views I have expressed are entirely mine. I'm responsible for them.
And thank you, viewers. Remember, like I told you earlier, our Living TV Club will soon comment. And we want you to come to the Living TV office, Living TV station office at #1 George Street, opposite Ezema Police Station by Kotegbene Road, and make your inquiries. You need to belong there. It is for adults, fathers and mothers with their children. We come around here, we have a lot of things to benefit. Issues concerning your health, concerning your marriage, and also entertainment. We will have stand-up comedians. Come and be part of this program. Continue enjoying Living TV. My name is Chinedum Adiele. Until I come your way same time next week, for me now is bye.
Epiphany.
Admission is ongoing at Living TV Film Academy, Aba, Abia State, for candidates wishing to study filmmaking and mass communication for skill certificate training and degree programs, including mandatory NYSC post-degree service. Courses offered are Department of Journalism and Media Studies, Broadcast Journalism, TV Presentation, Filter Journalism, Department of Film and Multimedia Studies, Cinematography, Acting, Video Editing, Film Production, Website Designing, Modeling and Makeup, Bead Making, Screenwriting, Theatre Arts, Department of Broadcasting, Script Writing, Journalism, Reporting, Software Programming, Mobile and Web App Development, Audio Production, Graphic Designing, Digital Animation, Special Effects, Social Media Management. Entry qualifications: candidates must possess 5 credits in WASICAM GCE, NAPTEB or equivalent. We have the following technical infrastructure for students' skills acquisition: an art theatre well equipped for modern digital television and radio studios open for hire to the public, an audio suite for music production, soundtracks, sound effects, jingles and voice-over, etc. A 50 feet by 40 feet chroma studio, largest in Africa for special effects, world-class rendering facilities for post-production rendering, animation and cartoon technology, assorted professional cameras, drones, etc. A film village with epic and village houses for theatre arts and epic films making. Our studies are skill-oriented with well-qualified academic and technical teachers. We also admit students on industrial training and internship from other institutions. Professional license will be issued to graduates to practice as professionals by Bollywood, a registered professional organization for filmmakers. Wow! What are you waiting for? Rush now and obtain our admission form with 2,000 naira only at our main campus, number 1 Judges Road, 5th floor, former UBA House by NEPA, Waterside Descent, Aba, Abia State, Nigeria, or visit our website, livingradio.com.ng, the Academy, www.livingtvfilmacademy.com, email livingtvfilmacademy@gmail.com, or call 0805 367 3900 or 0816 641 1400. Signed, Registrar.